Is this on? Hard part is that I never know exactly when it turns on. So to make like a nice gesture, like "Wah," and then be there, I have no idea. Anyway, folks, today is October 5th. Welcome. It is the Wednesday live stream. I recognize that we're a few minutes early, but that's just the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future. Checking out niche site Jojo in the chat, and there's Ken, Zach, Josh, Adrian, Sonia. So all of the friends, the regulars rolling in as I waffle for a moment while YouTube sends out notifications, or maybe not. Oh, no, I thought I had a notification, but it was something else. I will apologize for missing last week. I made some decisions. Waffles. I made some decisions. I'm trying to drink less coffee, so it's having a negative impact on my ability to enunciate. Nataraj, welcome. But so yeah, and I will just say that for those of you who have been around for the last year, you will know, as many of you have gone through this, that 22 has been a hard year for folks that are building info sites, monetized primarily with ads, because really for the first time we have felt the pain, suffering of updates. I think a lot of us have escaped that previously, just assuming, oh, you just write good content and you don't worry too much about links and everything will be fine. And then this year is really the first year, at least me personally, that I have felt it's not fine. It's not fine. And so starting in May, when the May update rolled out and the Mega site got hit and it just like took a lot of momentum out, I've really been struggling to get my head straight and to feel really passionate again and feel maybe less disillusioned, because I definitely was feeling some of those feels. And if you're in the chat and be like, yeah, hashtag me too. It just was harder to get as motivated because I didn't necessarily feel as secure. Like we have this belief, we say, okay, I'm going to do all this work and something good is going to come out of it. Like I just believe, I just know. And I felt like in May that for the first time in the 4 years that I have been doing this, that I felt like that belief was kind of shaken. And that's just comes down to, I think, some of my personal insecurities. And I'd already, I'm putting on my air quotes, burned the boat on my previous career. I've been full time at home doing this for a while now. And so it just was hard to feel like maybe I wasn't going to make it as far as like making my goals and stuff. And so, yeah, but I managed to soldier on, with May and then June and then July and August. And I had planned to soldier on through the end of the year and just, put my head down and grind it out. And then an opportunity came up not too long ago to go back to work for a bit, part-time. And I went back and forth because I had all these, plans and these goals for now that the kids were in school, that I was going to just do that, right? And just do nothing but work on my online business stuff. And then I was going to do all the winnings. But the hard part is that I wasn't feeling that excitement, right? So like the idea of coming to this desk right here and sitting here every day, it just wasn't as exciting as it had been before. Maybe it wasn't as easy to get here to this desk. I was finding excuses to do other things. And I definitely, like, one of my strengths when it comes to this business, like niche websites or succeeding online, is that motivation has never really been that difficult for me. I've always found a way to get here. And for the first time, I was really finding it hard to get here. And there's two reasons for it. One, I think I was feeling disillusioned a little bit. And two, I just am not desperate enough. And I think a lot of people who have been in this business for a while and have started to find some success, maybe not to their ultimate goal, but they're now able to live off of their earnings, or they have significant enough earnings where they're no longer, I'm putting on my air quotes, desperate, right? They say desperation is perspiration. I remember when I first got started here, I really needed to make more money, and it was really easy to come to the computer and work for 18 hours at a time. Like I didn't need somebody to tell me to do that, because I really had no choice. I needed to make it work. And so not an option. Here I was, and then all of a sudden recently it had become an option, like choosing to read a book or to work out or something else. It was an option. And so one, not feeling motivated, and two, having other options because I was no longer in I don't want to say financial straits, serious financial situation, whatever. I think two of those things played a part of it. And so uh, when this opportunity came up last month, it's totally offline and totally not related to niche websites. And it's maybe more time than I had planned, but and it's short term, right? So it's on contract just till the end of the year. But what I'm discovering is that one, I don't have as much time to do this, but because I have practiced and outsourced, I think that I can make my goals work. But I also find myself feeling excited about something, right? Excited about a new challenge, excited about learning and growing and looking for opportunities to build skills over there that I can bring back here. And I feel recharged, maybe re energized. And not only that, I feel maybe more passionate than ever about this thing right here, because this thing right here is what enables me to go do that other thing, right? If I didn't have this, the opportunity when it came up would not have been a choice. I had an opportunity to say yes or no, and I have that freedom because of this. Uh, Without this, the answer would have been no, I can't do that. This thing that maybe is like I'm curious and interested about and excited about, I would have had to say, I have to pass on that opportunity. It sounds really cool, but I can't afford to do it. Or I have this other job, or I have this other thing, or I have to build this. Like this thing right here, my portfolio and all of the rest has grown enough to be able to give me that option and that opportunity. And I just can't be grateful enough and happy enough to have that opportunity, that option, the ability, the choice, the freedom. Sonia, I have not talked about what the opportunity is, and I don't know that it's relevant. It's just working for somebody else for a couple hours a day and doing something that's really cool, something that is hard for me, like so hard for me. It's not in my natural strength at all. And so I feel like every day I go there and I am terrible at it. But it's an opportunity for me to get better at some skills that I like, specifically public speaking. I mean, I definitely speak a lot here on the live stream, but speaking in public, giving presentations, those things I don't do as much of. Uh, Another thing is that when I speak here on the live stream, I generally sit. I have my computer here and I have my notes in front of me. And that type of public speaking is I'm walking around. So I'm away from a podium, I'm away from the computer, I'm away from my notes. And so there's a lot more off the cuff. Like I need to be able to remember what it is that I need to talk about. And I need to have divided attention tasks. And so it's, I can already see that by the end of this 10-week stint that some of those weaknesses that I have, like public speaking at a podium or like being attached to notes or pre-written speech, is going to be much better. Because if you do it every day, then how? I mean, how could you not help but get better? But anyway, the side benefit, the side product of that is that when I come back to this, I feel that excitement again, and I feel that passion for it again, and I'm motivated again to get back and get this work done, because I just now realize what a magnificent thing that it is able to do for me. So anyway, that's the reason that I missed last week. I should be able to make every Wednesday at this time slot for now until the near future, so we can plan for just a little bit earlier. For me on the West Coast time, it's 9:45 a.m. So for folks across the pond, it'll just be 15 minutes before the top of the hour. And we'll go, 45 minutes to an hour, depending. I think I have waffled for 10 minutes. I can go and say hi to the folks in the chat if they are still there. Some of the folks I already said hey to. But there's Graham. What's going on? Thanks for dropping in. And our good friend, WP Eagle. I did catch, and I didn't have a chance to say hi or anything, but I did catch the end of Alex's stream with Doug and Adam this morning. And it reminds me that I have been meaning to go back and catch some of the old episodes or see if I can get in there live just to say hey. And I'm going to do that soon. But thanks for dropping in, Alex. It's always a pleasure to have you in the chat. There is Ken, Blog Builder, and Joanne. What's going on, folks? If you are in the chat, feel free to give me an update as to, what's gone on in the last couple of weeks, what you're working on, what are the challenges. Did Josh Coop finally get air conditioning? Everybody wants to know. There's our friend Game Guy, who's on a boat in Canada with spotty internet. Our friend Game Guy has acquired or accumulated enough earnings from his online business to take his family on another vacation, which is something that we will all applaud you. All of us have different goals for what we plan to do with earnings. Some of us, it is burn the boat and stay home full time or make career choices. Some of us, it is take our family on amazing vacations. And I love that that is what you are doing. Let's see. I see Jessica dropping in. What is going on? Jessica, I see you in the Icarus spreadsheet with a goal and first step on the way. Good luck with the rest of the month. Let us know what the challenges are. Like, what is preventing you from moving forward? For me personally, it hasn't so much been about money or time. It's been about, I guess, passion and excitement. And so, yeah, I'm working on that in my own special way. Maybe it's not listening to like motivational YouTube videos or reading business or entrepreneurship books. I mean, maybe it's just sometimes it's okay to take a break and shift and do something else for a little while, like clean out the system, like just do something else for a while. Let your brain engage in different ways, and then we'll see how it changes what it is that you do and how you do it. There is Soren. What is going on, Soren? How are you? Abadesamad, what is going on? Thanks for dropping in. Josh said the AC was finally fixed last week, only like 3 months later. Jessica says that lots of family traveling has been difficult, so it does make it difficult to get here and get the work done with the family and with other obligations. And yes, struggling with motivation. So finding ways, for one, to get yourself to the computer, and two, to actually get the work done, because I think many of us can get to the computer, but then we don't necessarily accomplish the tasks that move us forward. For example, many folks will come to the computer easily, but then we'll spend that entire time doing keyword research. That is fun, but at some point, if it doesn't produce an article at the end, then it is procrastinating. It is time wasting. Same thing with consuming content, right? There's so much content on YouTube or on learning platforms or in courses, but if you're not actually taking the next step to implement it, then it is procrastination disguised as learning. Same thing, I think, with social media, like networking, people who I will not name any names, but I know some of us spend a lot of time on Twitter because I see you there. And sometimes, networking disguised as hanging out on social media can also be a form of procrastination, because that could be time that you could then utilize for other projects that do, in the end, produce money. Now, you may say, oh, the time I spent on Twitter, that's building my brand, that's building my audience, and eventually that will come back to me. Great. That is an investment. But for some of us, and I can point at myself, I will name no names, I will accuse no one, but I know that I personally commit these sins, these foibles, these mistakes in the name of procrastination, disguised as meaningful work. And so that's something that I have to think about. And also, when I get here to sit at this desk, to be as productive as I can possibly be. Zach says, I didn't name any names, Zach. Zach says, maybe I hired someone to be me on Twitter. You don't know. Abadasamad says he deleted his Twitter. Hey, you do you, whatever works for you. Jessica says that she gets stuck on one article that needs to be written but have been putting off. So I try to skip around drafts to try to get to publish. Yeah, what I end up doing, and this is what I do right here, is I make a list of all the things that need to be done in the day. And then I start at the top, right? And then just be ruthless about the tasks and start at the top and work your way down. Don't cherry pick. Don't skip down to the next thing that looks the easiest or the most attractive or the best. It's the next thing on the list and it will be done next. And that way, eventually you'll get to the end and you won't have the option to skip around and then once again go to bed, let the sun set on an article that didn't get published. Margaret says she arrived a bit late. Actually, you would have arrived on time if the stream started at 10 o'clock, but because I have, without really a whole lot of notice, moved the stream to about 15 minutes earlier, um, that means that you rolled in late, but it's totally not your fault. That's my fault because I have some other things that I have to get to in the morning, and I just cannot quite stream from the top of the hour like I was before. Soren says, if you want something to do, just install spam on your sites. Yes, that is a joke. However, Soren did this recently this year and made a video about it and speaks from experience. It did create many opportunities for tasks to complete. Ken says he's been spending a lot of time creating a new website, a new WP Canva YouTube tuition website. Love the technical stuff. So the only thing that I worry about when people get started with new projects is how much time we spend in the development phase versus getting to the point where we're creating content that actually produces revenue or income. So as long as you, alongside like building out something really awesome, are also creating content that eventually results in money, that's the balance, right? Naturaj says, Quillbot changed his website and life. Started one more new website a month, running ads and $56 net income, and am happy. I am happy for you, friend, and well done. It can be really hard to get a site up and running to the point where it's actually earning more than pennies a month. So if you're 1 month in and you're already making $56 a month, that's a really good sign, and we hope to see it really take off. Sonia says, trying to do one article a day this month to recover from the 35% traffic loss. Yeah, there's definitely folks, myself included, who are rolling around here in the month of October in the first week, sort of feeling unmoored, a little lost, kind of trying to assimilate really what happened in the month of September and what that means going forward. People ask me, what do I think about the update? What am I going to do differently? And for me, the answer right now is nothing. I'm not going to do anything differently. I think there's still a lot of changes that are probably coming down the pipe. And I don't necessarily want to jump in and for one, blindly make changes to things or do things differently when I don't necessarily know if it's a good idea or that it won't just be reversed immediately. I do I did in May and then through the summer feel demotivated. And Sonia says she took 2 weeks to grieve. Yep. So there's some of that, right? Like there's a loss of something that you built when an update comes in and slaughters your traffic and your earnings for many of us. But yeah, it's like what to do next. And I really think that staying the course is where I'm at and doubling down on the things that I have done that has worked and just to see what happens next. I did though, just because I can't help it. I was poking around in my Google Search Console because there's so many new things popping up in there all the time. And people get all wild about, page experience scores and Core Web Vitals and the Otis.global site, my age domain site that is 14 or 15 years old. I can't even remember. It's old, right? It got a boost in August when the August updates started rolling out. So it had been slammed in May, like almost completely de-indexed, like was terrible during the summer. And then when August came around, it started to behave like a normal site. The article's all indexed, and then it started to go like this. And I thought it was interesting that right when the site started to take off in August, you would expect, you're like, oh, like everything should look good. At the same time, there was a correlation in the page experience tab for desktop and mobile where all of the URLs were rated as 0%. They were all a bad user experience according to Google for that time. So it's green, right? The green tab, like the green column goes up, like for the number of URLs that are producing a good user experience. And right along with the August update where the traffic went like this, the page experience meter data went like this, like straight to zero, like straight down. So if you're going to say, oh, I think that the update changed maybe some of the metrics for page experience, and then when it did so, that it that hurt sites that also went down. Like that, I just had the opposite happen. It was almost as if it just kind of went like that, and then you'd say, okay, is there anything that we can take away from that? And I think that it just doesn't matter. Maybe like people want to say, they want to say like, if X, then Y. So if your page experience is good, Google will reward you. That is not the conclusion that I could come from this. If your page experience is good, then great for you. If page experience is bad, then I don't know that that's good or bad at this point. I would have expected everything to go down like this in the same way, and the opposite happened. So I just thought that I would share that. I thought it was an interesting bit of data, especially since I've heard some folks trying to make I don't want to say claim, but like the conclusion, like looking at the evidence and trying to conclude that page experience is directly correlated to the amount of traffic that your site will get and how Google is treating your site. And that's just not what I saw with this site. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that I didn't see that myself. Ken says, talking about starting new sites, he says, I get you. Got to have the platform first. Should have 5 videos and blogs done by the end of the month. Fair enough. Who in the chat right here is still suffering from the blues from the helpful content update in September? Because I am slightly distracted in the last couple of weeks, I feel the blues a lot less. I was really feeling the blues up until that point. I just went and checked Google Analytics really quickly before I jumped on the stream. The Fi site, it actually rolled through most of September really well. Like it had like a slight hit in August, and then in September, as the helpful content update rolled out, it improved, right? And I thought, okay, like this is a reversal, like things should get better. But then at the end of the update, like right at the end, it slumped again. And so I don't necessarily know what or who or when or why, because they said the update was over. It slumped right after that. But that did happen. And I know that I'm not the only one I've seen on Twitter, because Twitter is the place to be, that several people saw, even though that the update was supposed to be over, that they saw some changes right after the fact. The Mega site also was down after the helpful content update was over. It stayed pretty stable through September. It didn't necessarily like recover in September from what happened in August. It was just like slowly doing a little bit better, and then did slump again once the update was complete. So I am I don't know. The plan, the goal, as always, is to stay the course and just keep publishing content. So me personally, accountability wise, for the month of October, I have once again set the goal of 100 articles. Last month, I made a good effort. I didn't outsource hardly anything just because I was a little freaked out about all of the updates. And so I managed to write myself more than 60 articles. But it also means that because I didn't budget any money for paid content, it was really hard for me to get to 100. And it was a great learning experience when I'm working part-time. I cannot get 200 articles easily without the assistance of some outsourcing. So this week, I have not necessarily gotten to the computer that much, but 100 articles is my goal. And the plan is to, I'm just looking through my to-do list, because my to-do list, I start at the top, I'm working my way down, is to order content. I would like to get at least somewhere between 30 and 50 articles ordered by the end of this weekend, so that they will hopefully be delivered by the end of the month. And then I will just have to sit down and figure out when in my schedule I can crank out another 50 or so on my own. So that will be the challenge, is like trying to find the balance and figure out in the new schedule, like how that will work and how that will play out. Uh, another thing Another thing that I have been thinking about, and folks, you'll have to maybe talk me down off the ledge here, because I did make the decision in 2022 not to start any new sites, but I feel like in 2023 it might be time to do so. So to take a look at the portfolio and say, okay, here's what is working and here's what is not. Maybe it's time also to start pushing something new. So for example, I have been looking at the fight site. So the fight site is July, August, September. So it was like around 15 months. And the biggest site, by the time it was a year old, it made $2,000 a month at the end of month 12. And the fight site is a much more conservative build, but it does have 300 articles on it now. And it will make, I think in September, it made like $190 a month. And that's at the end of month 14. So I don't want to say that it's a fail, because it's not a fail. It's really consistent. Like it's continuing to grow slowly, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a runaway, like. So I'm wondering if it might be time to put that more in like maintenance mode, and just continue to add content to it slowly and just let it be. And then once again, start on something new, like go all in on mostly in on something new. Um, so this current like position opportunity that I'm in, it's supposed to only go through like the middle. It's supposed to go through the end of the year. So then in January, I will once again have all of my free time when the kids are at school to myself, and that could be a good time to start a new project and launch a new project. So I would love to hear your thoughts on votes for yay or nay, and if so, and also, is anybody else thinking about starting a new project in 2023 in January? Like a lot of us have been aiming at January as a good time to start a new project, and wondering who else is thinking about it? Like who else is diabolically sitting back there thinking, is it time? Is it time? Zach says page experience probably only matters in as far as it impacts things like return to SERP rate. So if users stick around, that's all I care about. That's an interesting thought, Zach, because some of the details when it relates to the helpful content update is that Google is looking pretty carefully at user intent, user experience. What is it the users are doing? And one of the comments, and I can't remember if it came out of directly what Google said or from someone else who made a commentary, but content is generally considered helpful when the user finds the answer right away. And so potentially users that spend a long time on the page maybe are not finding the content that helpful. And so people who have really been pushing very hard for long-term like stats, for like super long time spent on page with a return, or I don't say a bounce, but hitting the back button to go back to the SERP. Previously, we would have thought that that person had a good user experience, right? They got there, they found what they wanted, and they really dived in. They scrolled all the way to the bottom of the page. But from Google's side, and I'm not going to say that this is true or this should change anything, but that could also be indicative of a user that isn't finding what they want. And so they're scrolling to the bottom because they're like, where is my answer? Where is my answer? Where is my answer? So there's just something to think about too, is whether a bounce back so that somebody goes on and looks at more, does it necessarily mean that the user didn't get what they needed, that's necessarily a negative thing? So I think it's really interesting as they are testing with the update, how that, what that means as far as what pages they will serve. That's why some folks, and they talk about, the word count or making smaller articles versus the large army ants articles, whether or not, I really think that that strategy, even with the was it the page experience, the jump, right? The thing where Google jumps you to where on the page the answer is, how those things will play out. Because I feel like um, Google sort of stepped in and just said, okay, here's where on the page, and the highlighting it with yellow. We're just going to skip all that stuff and just make it so. Just make it so that the user gets a good experience, and that they won't necessarily need to spend a long time on the page. They can just go on with their lives, or even close out the window, like click the X and like be done with their session. And maybe in the past that would have been perceived as a negative user experience, but potentially in the future that could be a sign of a positive one. So I don't know what it means long term for stats, and the stats that we're used to looking at. Like, people want to argue about bounce rate. Is it a good thing or a bad thing to have high versus low, especially for people coming in looking at potentially buying or selling a website? Like, do I need to improve this? What is indicative of a good user experience? And I think we all have to buckle up and just look forward, because I think it's going to change over time. Jessica says, if you don't mind me asking, how many sites do you have now? I think I have around 10, but in general, I can only really focus on about 3 at a time. And so I have some in the portfolio that I would call extremely neglected. A couple of them that probably will, I probably will clean out. I don't think I'm going to try to sell anything. Just some of them, that you hang on to and you're like, oh, like I'll work on this eventually. Like, maybe find some other homes for them in the near future. But yeah, I just know that 3 sites at a time is about what I can focus without the assistance of someone else. Potentially in the future, if like in 2023, if I'm able to get something else really going, that would be a really good time to hire somebody to help me so that I can continue to push on those other sites. Zach says, thinking of starting videos for the niche site in January, but no new sites. Yeah, I mean, that would be the other thing to do, is to start a new earning monetization strategy. So starting a new YouTube channel, or going all in on some other earning strategy is something to think about. Soren says he wants to find the courage to stay with his current project and being okay and comfortable in the hamster wheel. Yes, it does take some courage to say, I'm not going to start something new. I have the faith that this thing that I have created is going to succeed. Zach says, for time on page, that might be right, but that's not the stat that he uses. Google has said that higher return to SERP rate is negative. Yeah, I just think that some of those conclusions maybe aren't indicative of truth, right? And then we'll see that some of these stats will maybe change, or maybe other stats will be introduced in Google Analytics that will be more indicative of what sort of experience a user is having. Jessica says their husband bought a domain name and created a logo, so they have that on the back burner. I want to see some real success with first site, around $1,000 a month before starting a new one. I think that pushing something to a predetermined goal is a great way to keep yourself on track. Ryan Youngblood says, very strange. This video came up in search for coffee shop music live. Well, I guess the only thing that it got right was the live, because we are live. Thanks for dropping in, Ryan. If you'd like to talk about niche websites, that's what we're doing. Ken says, oh my God, 10. And I say, I know. But like I said, I pretty much, for the most part, ignore all but 3 of them. And then those other ones, every one of them, no music. Ryan, I don't even have music. Nothing. All I have is the dulcet tones of this voice that has not necessarily had enough coffee. This is a what I would call a weekly check-in meeting. So not even coffee now. I know this is a weekly check-in meeting where we're just here to check in and talk about how our week went. I think it's interesting that it popped up for you as a coffee shop music live, but But yeah, it's funny. I do have some, it's like a little bit though. You see, like that's the very end of it right there. No coffee shop though. Yes, Ken, I have 10. Like I said, most of them are neglected, but every one of them is monetized in some way. So none of them are dead weight. They could just be more helpful if I spent more time working on them. Mao says, is optimizing EAT important for all niches? No, I don't think so. I think that the whole EAT experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness emphasis is, I think, a distraction at times because it points people at doing things that I don't think necessarily are that helpful. Uh, I'm not convinced that an author box makes a difference. I'm not convinced that having your articles reviewed by a certified individual in your profession makes a difference. I do believe that links make a difference as far as EAT. I think that the depth of your your library, your articles, the number of topics that you cover makes a difference. Uh, but I think that there's a lot of people spinning their wheels on trying to build up EAT that doesn't necessarily won't necessarily produce the outcome that they are hoping that it will. Um, EAT, like making it visible on the site, may have more to do, may assist more with folks that are looking for conversions in some way. So, for example, affiliate offers, affiliate products that are recommended by somebody who's a licensed professional in that industry. That's definitely going to help, right? Also, maybe to encourage people to return to the site, right? They go to a site about taxes, and the blogger who's creating this has their picture and their name and like all of their certifications. I might be more likely to bookmark that site and when I have questions to return there. But is it necessarily going to cause Google to serve that up first simply because the person there has an author box that says, I am a licensed tax preparer? Yeah, I don't know. Not to rush says, any new Mega sites out of that 10? So if you're asking if any new updates from the Mega site, or is there, the Mega site is one of the 10, it is still in there, and I have not made a video update on the Mega site for a while, although I am still working on it. I do write about the Mega site on my personal blog. It's emiliagardner.blog. Ryan says, is that your living room? Actually, well, that was, if it was not, wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't it be funny if this was a green screen where you could see a random television and then the washer and dryer over there? Jessica says, what is the concept behind the Mega name again? It's making the internet great again. We came up with the name around the time of the election, and because people know about making America great again. And there were a lot of people at the time who people were really down, right? COVID was a thing. Everybody was tired, grumpy, and we're like, let's do something fun as a community. So we gave it a somewhat silly name, silly name, and then it's just stuck. It's just stuck. And a bunch of us started sites all at the same time, and they still call their sites the Mega sites. And so I know which site that they are working on, which is awesome. Sonia says, any tips on building topical authority? For me, it's about picking a cluster, picking a topic, and then going as deep as possible on that topic. So instead of cherry picking like a topic over here and a topic over there and like something over here, like even if they're in your niche, like, oh, I'll finish that cluster later. I just really think that trying to create articles that are related to that particular topic that can be linked to each other, and then just really covering that topic as well or in depth as possible is what I generally focus on. And I think that's probably the most important thing for people who are in their first year on a new site, is just to try and focus on getting those topics really built out before they move on. And that is one of the most difficult things I have personally experienced with starting a new site, because you have to do all this work before it earns any money or before you really get any traffic. And so you find yourself looking for easy wins, like going to Quora and scraping all of the low-hanging fruit there. and you're like, okay, I think I can get traffic for this topic and this topic, but is it necessarily building the topical authority that you want? Probably not. And I think it leaves us vulnerable later on down the road. Devin says he just finished work, and I say, welcome. Ryan says, so no coffee, no music, and no shop. Yeah, you had better take that up with YouTube, because I'm pretty sure that the title, unless I named this video coffee shop music, I'm pretty sure that I'm just going to go look. What did I call it? Yeah, Wednesday live stream accountability blogging. So I don't know. You'll have to take it up with YouTube. I can't tell you. I can't tell you what happened. Zach says, now we just build blogs better. Sports Story says, I personally feel that the max I can focus on at once is 5 sites. Yeah, I don't know how you do it, because I personally cannot. Mouse says, will you start another accountability program as a community this month? So in the spreadsheet, the Project Icarus spreadsheet, the link should be in the description of this video. We just create a new tab for the month. So if you click the link in the description, there should be the Icarus accountability spreadsheet. You can see that there is a tab there for October. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 folks in the spreadsheet right now, and anybody can join as long as they come in and they have a goal, they're willing to do work, and they want to be positive and support other people. I am not the motivational queen, so I will not be posting memes or making like videos set to Eye of the Tiger to try to get you to get to work. That's your job. Let's see. Sports Story said, also linking to relevant topics on other websites can also build authority. I concur. Sonia says, one of my topic clusters can easily go up to 300 articles, though. Can I not move on to another while building that? Oh, absolutely. I just think that what happens to many of us is that we never come back and finish that. There's just always good reasons to work on something else. Oh, I'm so tired of that topic. Oh, I'm so burned out. But if what you're trying to do is to be methodical and build out those clusters to the end, then you probably just got to stick with it and suck it up. And it's sometimes not fun, but we have talked about what the most successful people in our space do, and they are the best at grinding it out, right? Just grinding it out. If they can do the boring thing the longest, then they are the ones that win. I know it's hard. It's really hard to stay and finish each cluster like as you planned, but that's something I think that if you can do that, it will help in the long run. Mouse says, how many months do you recommend for us to build links? Like what stage of your website production? I think that I generally don't focus a ton on links, and that is to my detriment, I think. I tend to, when I start a site, think about the social fortress, and that is not a term of art that I have coined. Other bloggers, experts talk about the social fortress, but making a website look as natural as possible. So think about it. If your website is birthed on January 1, would it be natural for that website to immediately have 100 links pointing back at it? I think the answer is no. So if link building is something that you are planning on doing and you're interested in, I think it should grow over time as the site grows, just because that's what's natural. So you say, okay, I'm going to go till month 6. I'm going to do 100 articles, and then I'm just going to blast links at it. I think that's not natural. So if I was going to link build or make efforts at link building, and I do some a little bit here or there, it would need to be something that would grow with the age of the site and the size of the site. And I think as the site got bigger and gained more momentum, you could get away with more. But in general, I think if you're not necessarily sure, like, should I do this? You think, okay, what if this were a real business? If this were a real website, a real, not just me trying to, I don't want to say scam the SERPs, but just trying to make money fast, what would this really look like? And that can answer your question in many ways for, should I do this or not to my blog? Is it natural? Would Google see this as natural? If the answer is no, then maybe you should slow down or think of another way to make it happen. Despair Repair saying, hey, what's going on? Thanks for dropping into the chat. Raining Money says, I did good keyword research, but I'm still waiting for the hockey stick. It's 6 months now. It's 8 months now. Any ideas? Well, that is hard to say because good keyword research doesn't necessarily mean winning. There's so many other things that go into that, right? You're talking about the competitiveness of the niche, the quality of the content, the on-page SEO work. For example, I could have done the most amazing keyword research ever, but if I didn't hit the tasks, at least some of the tasks that Google is looking for when it's looking at your page and trying to decide whether or not to serve up your article on the top 1, 2, or 3, then it's going to be really hard to get traffic. So I have had sites that did not pop. The hockey stick growth did not pop until closer to a year old. And I think that that has to do sometimes with the niche and the competitiveness of the niche. I would continue to work and continue to post content. And then if things haven't taken off by maybe months 11 and 12, that's when I really got to sit down and say, okay, maybe it's time to sit and talk with somebody, pay somebody for an hour of their time to sit down together and look at the site and see if maybe there's something you are really missing. Gumball Degree says, is that 100 articles a week? Nope, 100 articles a month. That's all I'm trying to get. Mouse says, do I have a Facebook community or group? And I say I do not. And you know why? I have tried them in the past and all they did was prevent us from working. Because you know why? When you go to Facebook and you go to check in the group, guess what else you do? You scroll. You do other things. You do other things that are away from this that prevent you from hitting the publish button. So I had a Facebook group, did it for about a month, and then went because I felt like it was too distracting. Sports Story says he batched articles 10 at a time, then moves on to the next website. Jessica's got to go. Thanks for hanging in. I've only got a few minutes left too as well. I have to run. Sports Story says you should build links slowly. He says, did you guys come across the less than 5 minutes red badge in SERPs? I have not seen it yet, but I think that's I think that is a very interesting comment by Google on that. Stiggs, welcome back, counselor. On early again, I see. Yes, and you are late as always, and we are actually headed out here in a minute. Miles says, are you a singer or an artist before? You look like somebody on TV. I will take that as a compliment. The answer is nope, definitely not. In fact, I, up until recently, completely avoided being on camera at all because it was a personal Achilles heel for me. I really didn't like it. And so I spent the last 4 or 5 years trying to get better at being on camera. Ken says he's got to go. And actually, I do as well. I'm looking at the time. Folks, I plan to be here at the same time, 15 minutes before the top of the hour next week. So just set your clocks back about 15 minutes, and we should be able to get here and to catch up. As always, folks, thank you so much for being here. It definitely helps keep me on track, and I appreciate you. And I look forward to hearing about your progress next week on Wednesday, same time. All right? Take care. See you later. Bye.